Okay, everybody, let's do this. This is 1.16, you guys, and it is a handout for this. The handout in our topic is solutions to the standard form equation. Okay, so and just so that you know, any solution to any linear equation is any point that falls on that line. It's an ordered pair of two different numbers that represent those variables, x and y, let's call them. So you guys have a matching activity to do right here, all right? And this is what it looks like. So you can either cut these out from your workbook. They're on pages 97 and 99. Or you can go into the matching activity. I'm going to do this in the matching activity so that you guys can see what's going on in the matching activity. So here's what it looks like. You have one S1, S2, S3, S4. These are paragraph descriptions of a scenario, right? You have E1, E3, E5, and E7. If you look at these right here, they are standard form equations. So remember, a standard form equation looks like y equals mx plus b. So looks like ax plus by equals c. So standard form equation, these are all standard form. ax plus by equals c. On the other side over here, we have slope-intercept. So these are the second types of equations that we're looking at. And all of these are in slope-intercept form. So y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b. And y equals mx plus b. Then we go down to the bottom, and these right here, these are graphs. All right, so if you notice, just out of observation, finding patterns in numbers, seeing what's there, if you notice G1, G2, and G4, these are going to be, these have a slope, a negative slope. That means that they're going downhill. If I read from left to right, they would be going downhill. So reading from left to right, they go downhill. As opposed to G3, if I read from left to right, it's going uphill. All right, so there's going to be one of them that's not necessarily in the paragraph description of it is not going to be like the others. All right, so that's just something to think about. All right, so let's go over to Desmos. And so when you go into Desmos on this one, the website that you're looking at here in Desmos, it is going to be student.desmos.com and /join. Okay, and /6WC MQV. All right, so that right there is what you type into the URL, to the address bar. Okay, so back to the matching activity. All right, so cool thing about this is that you can you don't have to pull out the piece of paper and cut them. You can't, they won't get lost or anything like that. So when you do these, we have two cars on here. Okay. So what we're going to do here, you notice they're just kind of scattered all over the place. So we got to find some order in this, and order in what we're doing, right? Okay, so the first thing to do is just look at it, and let's put all of the paragraphs together. All right, so let's put those, separate them, put them in one spot. Okay, so I'm going to go over here, let's separate them, put them in another spot. Okay. And let's go here. Let's go over here. Okay, then I'm going to put those equations, and let's put them over here. Okay. Put all the equations over here. All right, and so there we go. There is, these are all the paragraphs. All right, so just want to separate them, make it easy for ourselves. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to separate, put all the graphs right over here. All right, so there are the graphs. Now we look at it and we're going to separate the others. Okay, and you can do the same thing with this if you cut them out. All right, if you cut these out, and you can do exactly the same procedures, same process that we're going through right here. So if you notice, all of those that have ax plus by, I'm going to go ahead and put over here on the left, and all of those that are slope-intercept form, I'm going to put over here. We'll just kind of separate them like this. Give yourself enough room. Okay, so first thing I want to read the scenario, and the scenario should give us some clues. It should be fairly easy to recognize in these scenarios. I'm going to read one of them, and then I'm going to let you guys do the other four. So I'm going to set one set up for you, and a set is going to come with a paragraph. It's going to come with a standard form equation. It's going to come with a corresponding slope-intercept form equation, one of these, and it's going to come with a graph. So let's look at the first scenario right here, and it says you need to buy school supplies for the new school year, and the only things you have left to buy are composition books and pencils. So you have two things, composition books and pencils. Each composition book X costs $2.50, and each pencil Y costs 75 cents. You have exactly $25 to spend. All right, so you look at this right here, how much money do we have to spend? That's what everything's going to be equal to. So whatever it is on the left-hand side is going to be equal to 25 if we're looking at it in standard form. All right, so all we have to do is match our variable with the number that corresponds to it. All right, so each composition book X costs $2.50. So I'm looking for something that has a 2.5x. All right, so I look over here. All right, look in the standard form equations. There's a 2.5x, and turns out that this is a 0.75y, which matches, and it equals 25. So there we go. There's our first match. Okay, so from this point right here, now what we have to do is we have to get very good at manipulating this standard form equation and putting it into slope-intercept form. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over into the whiteboard, and I'm just going to memorize this. Okay, I'm going to say 2.5x plus 0.75y equals 25. All right, so 2.5x plus 0.75y equals 25. Okay, so slope-intercept form, it's going to look like this at the end. Okay, you're going to figure out what the slope is, and that's going to be m right here, and you're going to figure out what the y-intercept is, and that's going to be b right there. So what you see right here, the y is the only thing that's going to be on the left-hand side, or it doesn't have to be on the left-hand side, it could be on either side, but it's going to be by itself. So that y variable, I need to isolate it, okay? And it's going to look like this at the end. So the first step is to understand that I have to isolate y, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look for anything that's added or subtracted to this y term. And what's added to the y term is 2.5x. So I'm going to go ahead and take away 2.5x, and I'm going to put this over here. Okay? All right, so minus 2.5x, and on the left-hand side I'm going to do that, and then I also have to do it on the right-hand side. Put my line down there so I know that there's a left and a right. I'm going to subtract 2.5x. Draw a line right underneath it. That's going to cancel. I got to show that that cancels out. And now I'm going to be left with 0.75y on the left hand side, and that's going to equal 25 minus 2.5x. Okay, so we're getting pretty close to this y equals mx plus b, but the only thing that we have to do now is we don't want to know what 0.75x is, we want to know what just or 0.75y is, we want to know what just y is by itself. Okay, so in order to get rid of multiplying by 0.75, I'm going to divide by 0.75. What I do to the left side, I have to do to the right side. Okay, erase this. So we know that's what we're supposed to look like at the end. And I'm going to show that this cancels out. Oops. Okay, so what's left? On the left side, if that cancels out, I'm left with 1y, or better yet, just y. If I divide by 0.75 on the right side, I have to distribute that division to the 25, because that is a constant term, and this one is an x term, which those two cannot be combined. So I have to distribute that, and I'm going to write it down as 25 divided by 0.75, and I'm going to write the other one down as minus 2.5 divided by 0.75, and that's going to be the x term. All right, so okay, so if we look at this right here, we can just go into our trusty calculator here, and we just divide it out. We're going to go 25 divided by 0.75 equals 33. All right. Okay, so y is going to equal 33.3, right? And then I also have to do the other one. 2.5 divided by 0.75. So 2.5, whoops, 2.5 divided by 0.75. So think about this. If we divide by something that's less than 1, that number is going to become greater. Okay? So this number has to become greater than 2.5. All right, so when we hit the equal sign, sure enough it does. It's 3.3. Okay? So minus 3.33x. Okay, so we're going to go back and we're going to look for something that has a 33.3 is my y-intercept. That's so if we write it out as mx plus b, we could write it out as negative 3.33x plus 33.3 and 3. Okay, those will go on forever. All right. So what is our b value? It's this right here, 33.33. Okay. And what's our slope? It's negative 3.33. Okay. So let's look for that over here. So now we have a bunch of fractions. Okay. Now, as we look at these, 33.3, it should kind of get familiar to you that a 0.333, those are thirds. Okay, 0.66666, those are thirds. Okay, so 2/3. All right, would be 0.6666. 1/3 would be 0.3333. Okay, so the only one that has, this one has thirds in it right here. So if we go ahead and say 10/3, let's figure out what 10/3 is. 10 divided by 3, what do you know? That's 3.33. Okay, so we have a slope of negative 3.33. Okay, so this one right here is as the slope is negative 3.33, and let's just to check make sure let's check to see if 100 divided by 3 equals 33.33. There it is. So 100 divided by 3 gives me 33.33. Okay? All right, so this right here matches with this. Okay? I'll pull these out of the way a little bit. And the last thing that I need to do is I need to go over here to the graphs. Right? So when I look at the graphs, I'm looking for, remember that this right here, this 100 over 3 is 33.3. So I'm looking for a graph that crosses the y-axis at 33.33. Okay, so this one crosses at 10. It's going to intercept at 10 right here. This one's going to intercept at almost 50. This one's going to intercept below. It's going to intercept below 4. Okay, so maybe it's 3 point something, right? And this one right here, look, there's 32. So it's got to be, that's probably some. It's not going to intercept at 32. It's a little bit higher than 32. So I'm going to say that that one's going to be it. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so those are all matched up, and that's the way you would do the rest of each of those. Okay, so first look at the paragraph, decide what the standard form equation is going to be, change standard form to slope-intercept form, figure out where it crosses the y-axis by looking at the b value in slope-intercept form, and then put the graph on. Right? So you should have those 3 set up together, or those 4 set up together. So the one that has the $2.50 for the composition books, that's going to match with 2.5x plus 0.75y, and that's going to match with y equals negative 10/3 x plus 100/3, and then that's going to match with the graph that has a y-intercept of 33. Okay, now moving on. So I want to show you how to do number 1 on, this is on page 101, and it's 1.16b. 1.16b. All right, summative practice with writing equations. All right, so we want to practice writing equations so we can get ready for the summative, and the summative is going to be our test, our unit test that's coming up here. So remember our whole thing for today, our objective for today is solutions to the standard form equation. So read everything. It says Manuel has $15 to spend on apps and music. All right, so right there I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put it in there, apps, music. Okay, I know that those are probably going to be my variables. All right, so it says apps cost $2 each. Songs cost $1 each. Okay, and $15 is how much we have to spend. All right, so fairly basic. We should be getting good at recognizing, what number attaches to what variable in this. So a fairly basic setup for this. It says here if X represents the number of apps purchased and Y represents the number of songs purchased, write a linear equation that represents the combination of apps and songs Manuel can purchase. Okay, so X, apps, Y, songs. Write a linear equation. Okay, songs and apps. So songs and apps means add them up. So what we're going to do is just write down, I like to do this, write down that X equals, even though it says it right in there, say X equals apps and Y equals songs. Okay. All right, so what number attaches to apps right here? Apps cost $2 each. Okay, so I'm going to say 2x, and I'm going to add to that the cost for each song, and each song costs $1. Okay, so plus 1 y, or better known as just y, and that has to equal the total amount, which is $15. Okay? Take off that 1 so that we get used to seeing it as just y. So there's my equation. So now it says rewrite the equation in a different form that will allow you to quickly identify the y-intercept. Well, that's why we call it slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. That's a form that I can quickly just look and see that my y-intercept is that b value, that constant that I'm adding to the x term. Okay? Okay, so just as we did before with our matching activity, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to go ahead and rewrite the equation. 2x plus y equals 15. And understand now that, hey, I just have to isolate this right here. I just have to isolate the y. Okay? Okay, so in order to isolate the y, I have to look and see what is added to the y on the left-hand side. So we have two sides, left and right. What's added to the y? The thing that's added to the y is the 2x. So if I take away 2x and I take away 2x on the other side, that will keep the equation balanced. And on the left side I'll be left with y. And that's going to equal 15 minus 2x. And that basically is my equation. That's it. Y equals 15 minus 2x. Now, we have this thing called the commutative property. Order in the court, commute my sentence. That's the way you memorize it, right? So the commutative property says that we can change the order of it and it won't change what the value is. Okay, so instead of saying y equals 15 minus 2x, we could rearrange this and put the minus 2x in front and put the 15 in the back. We can write it as y equals negative 2x plus 15. All right, so quickly identify the y-intercept. Well, there it is. Our y-intercept is 15. Okay? And that part's done. All right? So now, should have a little bit of time to practice some of these. I'm going to give you 3, 4, 5, let's see, 3, 4, 5, and 6 to do on your own. So I'm going to give you one more here that is going to be similar. So all of those that I'm circling are ones that I'm going to do with you, and the others that I'm going to put a square around, a box around, those are going to be problems that you do. Okay? So Rohan bought a memory card for his digital camera. If he takes only high-res photos, he can store 3,500 pictures. If he takes only low-res photos, he can store 7,000 photos. Okay? All right, so let's look at it like this. All right, so the first thing that they say is high-res. All right, so we're going to say high-res. All right, and the second thing that they list is low-res. Low resolution, right? Okay, so I want to look at this and I say, all right, well, what do I know here? I know that if he only takes high resolution photos, he can store 3,500 pictures. So if it's only high resolution photos, okay, then I'm going to say 3,500, and then for the low resolution, we're not going to have any, okay? If he takes only low resolution photos, he can store 7,000 pictures. So he's not going to take any high resolution photos, okay? So we say 7,000. All right. Now we're going to look at the question, and the question says write a linear equation to represent all the combinations of numbers of high res X and low res Y photos Rohan can store on his memory card. All right. So there and there. So we're going to say X equals high res. I know that you are rewriting what is already there, but trust me, it's important to write that stuff down because you'll start to memorize it a little bit more and remember we're talking about muscle memory. Okay? All right, so it says write a linear equation. So if I have 2 points, and when I have 2 points, I can come up with a slope. Okay, so if I have 2 points, my goal here is to come up with a slope. So there's 2 points, I come up with a slope. All right. So M, and all I need to write a linear equation, there's a couple things that I could have. I could have something that looks like this: AX plus BY equals C. But this isn't quite perfectly set up for that. Okay? It's not quite perfectly set up. All right? But I also have this form right here, and it's y equals mx plus b. Well, I know that my b value is when, if we say that this is x and this is y, my b value is when x equals 0. So y-intercept is when x equals 0. Okay? So I know that this right off the bat, my b value is going to be 7,000. All right? So this y equals mx plus b is going to be the form that I want to write it in. And I could write it in the other one. There's other ways that I could go about doing this, but for this one right here, I know that b equals the point 0, 7,000. So b equals 7,000, right? So the only other thing that I need to find to put it into slope-intercept form is the slope. Okay, so I know from studying these that the slope is the change in the y values over the change in the x values. All right, so that's why I drew these lines right here. So the low resolution is what we're going to call the y values, and the high resolution is what we're going to call the x values. So if I go from 3,500 down to 0, that's subtracting 3,500, right? So the x value on the bottom here is going to be minus 3,500. And if I go from 0 to 7,000, this value right here, this y value, is going to be plus 7,000. Right? I've added 7,000 to 0. Okay? So as it works out, I have a negative on the bottom and a positive on the top, which is going to make it a negative. And when I divide 7,000 by 3,500, think of $7. $7 What's half of $7? Well, it's $3.50. Okay, so it's going to be minus 2. 7,000 divided by 3,500 equals 2, and since it's negative, it's going to be negative. Right? So I have my m and I have my b, and so now I can put it into slope-intercept form. Y equals negative 2x plus 7,000. Okay. Now, if we look at this next part right here, it says what's the slope of the line? Okay, the slope of the line is this. We've already done that. Slope of the line is this. Okay, or better yet, let's write it like this. Slope of the line is this. Okay. And what does it mean? So what does the slope mean? Okay, so if we're talking like the low resolution is y, okay, for every drop of 2, for every high resolution, photo, so for every high resolution photo, Rohan can take two less low resolution photos. Okay, so let's think about it. So if I say, all right, is this true? For every high resolution photo, all right, so if I have one high resolution photo, okay, that would make the y value equal to negative 2. 2 less low resolution photos. So y would be the low resolution photos, 2 less low resolution photos. Just to check and make sure that that sounds correct, right? Graphing it would also help you understand it. Okay. All right, so this would be one high res, and this right here would be low res. Okay. Yep. So for everyone, you're gonna take that away. Okay. So that's pretty much it. That is number 1 and number 2. So when you guys go through this, these problems right here, I will also be putting, just like I did last semester, I'm going to be putting an alternative assignment that you're going to work these problems out, and then you're going to go in and you're going to see if they're correct or not by going in and submitting the assessment, and then redoing it. If it's not correct, then you can go ahead and redo it and then turn in this document right here to get a higher score. If you did really well on the assessment, then you're done. You don't have to do it, right? But the answers will be right there after you're finished submitting it when you plug it into the alternative assignment. So I want you to do 3, 4, 5, and 6 by yourself. Check those things out. They're pretty similar. I'm going to say that This one, if you do number 6, this is really going to help you for our summative. Okay, for graphing our summative, it's going to talk about between the ages of 10 and 20. So what I would say is that 0 would be the age 10. So that 11 years old would be the first, would be 1, 12 years old would be 2, 13 years old would be 3, and so on. Okay, so if you're graphing it, I don't know if it asks you to graph it. It doesn't ask you to graph it, but that's what I would say you should do for setting it up. All right, so for number 5, the size of the graduating class of Kyle's school. So what this is graduating class has this number of people, and this is the year. Graduating class has this number of people, and this is the year. So you have 2 points, right? And you could just, rather than call it 2015, just call it 15. And rather than, 2018, just call it 18. Okay? You could set up a table, and then you can figure out your slope by setting up a table. And then once you figure out your slope, then you can figure out your y-intercept by going back to, from 15 rather than from 2015, because it's going to be completely different if you're plugging in 2015. And you get a weird y-intercept. All right. So these probably best bet to slope-intercept form, and most likely, I'll say slope-intercept form. And then from, I would say point slope. Okay, so slope-intercept form, put it into slope-intercept form and do it from plugging it into point slope. So remember, point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All right, and then you can just manipulate slope-intercept form into point slope form. Okay, or sorry, manipulate point slope form into slope-intercept form. Let's see. Standard form. Number 3 is standard form. Okay, pretty basic, right? Or actually, let's read it. If I read through it again here, let's see. Javon is on vacation in New York City and wants to ride. Okay, all right. This one right here is not standard form. This is going to be the easiest way to work. This one is slope-intercept form, because you have a flat rate, that's your starting point, and then you have a flat phi. Okay, that'll be your starting point. That's your y-intercept. You're going to have your slope, which is going to be your rate of change, and that's 0.35. So slope-intercept form would be best for that one. So this one right here, one large pizza can feed 3 players. Pizza, 3 players, and means that you're going to be adding them up. Sandwich tray, 4 players, and then a total. So this one is going to be standard form. You can put that into standard form. So ax plus by equals c. Slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Slope-intercept form from standard form. This one right here would be, best way to do this is slope-intercept form. There's y-intercept, increases by 100 calories per year. That would be your, this right here would be your your slope. B right here and M right there. Okay, that'll be it. Good luck on this. Let me know if you guys need any help. I'm always there on WebEx. You can let me know through that, or give me a holler on my phone, or give me an email.